Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Rusted Nuts and Ratchet's Garage. Today I'll be talking about the speedometer cable on a 2J Mk3 swap. So if you've got a single turbo upgrade done to your car, you're probably going to notice that this part of your speedometer cable, if you're not careful how you place it, will get burnt by the downpipe of your exhaust. That's happened to me a few times. The first time was from a shop that I got to put on a catalytic converter for me after I got nabbed by the Ministry of Environment or whatever. So they put the catalytic converter on my car and they mounted it up against the short piece of the speedometer cable, and it burnt through and snapped it. And back then I didn't know that they were two pieces that came apart, because there's a short and the long, and depending on if you have a manual or an automatic transmission will depend on whether you have an elbow or a straight piece. So inside it looks something like that. Hopefully it focuses on that. Now I'm not sure if you can recable these. I haven't seen anything out there that says that you can, but that's pretty well the deal. So okay, good. Put this back together. So you're buying a used cable. One thing you want to make sure is when you spin the shaft that it spins on both ends so that it's not broken. Check for any signs of burn or wear that might cause this to fail. And should be pretty well evident if it is bad. So this piece right here, the small one, I got for like 10 bucks from Rock Auto a few years ago. Just had it sitting around. I was gonna throw it out, but I'm glad I never did. Why'd you take it apart? So this part goes into your transmission. This part goes through your firewall and mounts up behind your cluster. So with the 2J swap here, it's hard to see, but let's see if I can get right down in there. Where are you? So that's the cable there, and it runs along the firewall. And as you can see, basically where the burn is, I'm going to see if I can get that to focus for you. Get a hold of that. There you go. So there's my speedometer cable there. Now I can't remember if it comes through the firewall when you reinstall it or not, but what's happened is my shop is becoming a mess from doing in the last little bit with this car in the garage and not cleaning up after myself. So basically causing myself more problems in the end. So here it is. What I'm going to end up doing is zip tying it to these little brackets next. Okay, what I'm going to end up doing is zip tying the new cable to these brackets here that go to the old plumbing for the single turbo swap, and keeping it as far away from the downpipe as possible, basically. And then I'm going to go under there, under the car. I'll show you there when I get back to that. Oh, okay, good. Good. It's been a long day. And then I come home to play in the shop. So, generally speaking, to get to that, you have to take off this garnish here. I have it all apart because I did the new clutch installations. So there'll be a screw. That screw there will be going through into there. And then you'll pull everything off and unclip everything behind it. There's two screws inside the ashtray pull out. Actually, I think there might be 5 screws. Regardless, you should be able to pull your cluster apart by now. If not, maybe I'll show you when I put it back together how that all goes. And then you've got the screws on top, which go into the ABS plastic up here and there, all around. And then you'll pull your cluster forward. Mine has my gauges attached, so I had to undo this little dressing piece over the steering wheel. Anyway, and then you also have to pull this little dimmer switch all apart to get to the bezel. I kind of wish I would have made this whole video for you guys so that way you'd see how to get to it. But anyway, that's not the meat and potatoes of it. The meat and potatoes is that right there, which is, there's this little white clip, and I can't remember if that comes apart or not. I'm gonna check out on Drift Motion and see what their speedometer, like if that snaps out. I can't really remember. And then I think I'm gonna pull it in through the firewall, but I'm gonna push it out to get to the transmission. I don't remember this being a necessarily simple job, but whatever. Nothing's ever easy on this shit, you know? Might even just pulled it in there. We'll see. Oh, I gotta go underneath and undo the little bracket that I made to hold it up from the catalytic converter. So I'll get down there, do some stuff, and then we'll talk some more. Alright, so I'm underneath the Supra here, and basically what you're shooting for when you, where are you? There you go. When you're installing your new Speedo is that their threaded adapter, whatever, that's what that one piece screws onto, and you can see where what was once new cable is mounted, and I've got a little 5/16 or 1/4 inch screw there with some of that, I don't know what you call it, some sort of galvanized metal thing. Anyway, I'm gonna take that out, pull the speedometer up through the dash, most likely, and pretty well change it out from there. So that's the deal. Alright, so now that I've gone underneath and undone that little retainer that I made, I'm just gonna grab myself this little speedometer cable here and pull it up so that it's where, I don't know, obtainable to remove from the car, something like that. Don't imagine it's gonna go easy. And you can see where, oh, I fall off my blocks, damn it. You can see where it melted through the cable or casing. Now this cable is actually still intact. What the fuck is that? Huh. Grease. Okay, anyway. The cable inside the casing is still intact, sort of. I don't know what's going on in there. I'm gonna try and figure out how to hack this cable, maybe, if I'm lucky. So, that's there. Where's my new one? Here. Okay. I don't want to break anything, especially on the new cable, but perhaps this comes apart somehow. I think, oh, just like that. So you're gonna slide that down, which is gonna remove that little bracket and allow you access to your new Speedo cable. So I'm going to try that in the car. I don't have anybody to work a camera for me, so we push that forward. How does that work? Let's bring that up closer. Sorry if I'm breathing heavy or anything. What the heck? Alright, so just like that. Bit of a pain. And then this should come right out through the firewall. Should, being the key word. So I'm going to go to the front and pull it through. I'm going to take my new cable and get ready to install it. So in order. It's hard to see, but right there is where you gotta feed this new cable through. And it shouldn't be that hard since I've done it too many times now. And you're most likely not gonna be able to see anything. You're most likely gonna be watching me grunt and groan. So anyway, this here cord, cable, whatever, is gonna go down. You can go into the car and put a flashlight through if you want to be able to see where you're going, or you can just close your eyes and use your fingers and get it all up in there. So what I've gone and done is used a whipper cord wire, and it's hard to tell. You can see it's that green one back in the back that's kind of illuminated, which I have it also tied up to a piece of string, and I'm going to tie it to the speedo cable and pull it through the firewall. So I just got to get onto it with the pliers. There isn't much room in there. So I got these long pliers to get it. So you can see my speedometer cable is now accessible. So once you have your speedo assembly together, you're going to want to align the back of your cluster. There's a little green, get it there. There's that little green thing there. That's where your speedo attaches to. Then you're going to want to put all the screws back in. It literally took just like 2 seconds. I just aligned it and pushed it back. It does have like a little bit of a spring to it, so I don't know really what that means. Maybe it helps it made up easier. So then you're just gonna go ahead and put all the screws back in around, where am I here? Put all your screws back in there, and then put your garnishes all back on and make it look pretty again. So now I've got the speedometer cable down here. It's gonna be a little long, shit. And that's gonna, this end here is going to go, where am I here? This thing upside down. Oh, that's right, okay. Hold on. Alright, so this here end is going to go into that. This little key will match up with the key inside of the speed sensor gear, and then I'll pin that up on the where I had it pinned up before, so that it's far enough away from the cat. I also might do like a heat wrap on it with some sort of foil tape or something, and then that'll hopefully add some extra protection against the heat. So here's what it looks like. The speedometer cable is held by that crappy green zip tie. I'm going to replace it for something better. The downpipe seems to be, hopefully, far enough away from, let's see if I can get in there. Hopefully far enough away from that speedo cable. You can see down there that tin foil right there. Of course, that's gonna block it, but the tin foil there is kind of like heat reflective for that. And so the only thing I'm worried about technically is the distance between the catalytic converter and this piece of speedo cable that goes up into, you can see it there, nice and shiny and new, into the side of my greasy transmission. Hopefully it lasts, it doesn't slip down or get any closer. I think I might wrap that in some aluminum foil too, just to reflect the heat away. Aside from that, it's pretty well it there. Now I just gotta finish putting it together and maybe fix my power steering pump leak, because aside from the leaky chem seals a while ago, the power steering pump is causing my car to definitely not rust from underneath. I might even see, you can see it's pretty close there. I don't know if that's going to make any difference temperature wise, but yeah, it gets pretty hot, but we'll see. Okay, that's it. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button.